Of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku, and these are the top stories. SDPs Ado calls out President Tinubu over policy failure. APC warns Nigerians against planned protest. Nigerians unearth President Tinubu's tweets on protest. Information Minister discloses UAE's lift on visa ban. And federal government donates 20 trucks of rice to states including the FCT. Details now. The world news begins with the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, disclosing that he would not wait for President Bola Tinubu to fail before calling his attention to bad economic policies of his administration. Adewale Adebayo made this statement today while commenting on two headlines on Adams Oshomele's statements on ex-President Muhammadu Buhari and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Adebayo said policies of President Tinubu are not addressing poverty. He also said the president refused to follow Chapter 2 of Nigeria's constitution. The SDP former presidential candidate wrote on his X handle, and I read, "Whatever President Bola Tinubu is not doing well, such as abject failure and willful refusal to follow Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which is fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, we speak now or forever hold our peace." However, referring to the two headline statements of Oshomole and Buhari, he added, "We can't wait for him to fail and go before we talk." Adebayo said he has always offered alternative policies to President Tinubu that he could adopt to meet the goals contained in the Constitution. He disclosed further that the aim is not only to criticize, but offer alternative policies to meet the goals and contained in the Nigerian Constitution for a people-centric government devoted to the public welfare, justice and abolition of poverty and amelioration of insecurity. Politics is not for amusement or enmity. End quote. Meanwhile, North Central All Progressives Congress Forum has issued a warning against the planned nationwide protest purportedly aimed at the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Now, during a press briefing in Jos, the Plateau State capital, the forum's chairman, Sali Mandong Zazaga, argued that such protests could disrupt the nation's progress and urged the organizers to reconsider. Zazaga highlighted that the motives behind the protests appear to stem from selfish interest rather than genuine concern for national development. He emphasized that the current administration under President Tinubu is making significant efforts to steer the country towards growth and stability, and such actions could serve as unnecessary distractions. Furthermore, Zazaga appealed to potential protesters to consider the security challenges in the North Central region and other parts of the North, which are already under strain. He stressed that any form of unrest could exacerbate the situation, detracting from the government's efforts to address these issues. The APC leader called for unity and support for the government's initiatives, suggesting that constructive dialogue is a preferable path forward rather than disruptive protest. He warned that staging protests in the already volatile North Central could pose additional risk to the nation's, or rather to the region's, security. In the same vein, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's tweets on protests before he became president in 2023 have been unearthed by Nigerians. Now, in 2013, under the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, President Tinubu made some tweets on his X, formerly known as Twitter, calling on the police to stay away and allow Nigerians carry out their rights to peaceful assembly and protest. You would also recall that President Tinubu, along with Professor Wole Soyinka, among other All Progressives Congress chieftains, led an Occupy Nigeria protest in 2012 against ex-President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's administration's policy on the removal of fuel subsidy. Like many other Nigerians on X, Special Assistant to Media to Atiku Abubakar Abdul Rashid shared President Tinubu's call for democratic revolution. In the November 28 and December 1, 2013 tweets, President Tinubu then said revolution would unleash massive development for the country. He also urged police to respect protesters. Tinubu warned the police that the future of their children were being fought by the protesters. On November 28, 2013, President Tinubu wrote, and I read, "Police, do not attack protesters. Your children are involved. Your lives are involved. Your children's future lie here." On the 1st of December 2013, Tinubu wrote, Nigeria needs a democratic revolution that will unleash infrastructural development and massive industrialization. Nigeria is blessed. Meanwhile, President Tinubu's media team are yet to dissociate Nigeria's leader from the tweets. Now, the federal government has reached a compromise with the United Arab Emirates, a development that has seen the authorities lifting the ban on Nigerian passport holders. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris disclosed this shortly after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today. The minister said, and I quote, Nigeria has been discussing with the UAE over the ban on Nigerians traveling to that country, but today an agreement has been reached on that. Now, Nigerian passport holders can be issued visa to travel to the United Arab Emirates. President Bola Tinubu's led government today donated 20 trucks of rice to the 36 state governors and the Federal Capital Territory for onward distribution to Nigerians. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, while addressing State House reporters after the Federal Executive Council meeting, said the rice is for the most vulnerable Nigerians. He also said the Tinubu administration is committed to making sure that Nigerians have food on their table. Meanwhile, former Chief of Army Staff, retired Lieutenant General Buratai, has advised Nigerians calling for the disintegration of the country to perish the thought. He opined that the country would continue to remain united. Buratai spoke in Kuta, Osun State on Sunday on the 60th birthday celebration of Olowo of Kuta, Oba Adekunle Oyelude. He described Olowo Kuta as a detribalized Nigerian who has shown love to people across all ethnic groups in the country. Buratai noted that those agitating that the country should disintegrate must be ready to carve out their own path and move it to the Atlantic Ocean. He pointed to the civil war as a sign that agitation to divide the country would always fail. The former chief of staff subsequently called for unity to further enhance Nigeria's development. According to him, he said, and I quote, "You know that Nigeria is one unless you remove those people who are agitating and drift them to the Atlantic. We will remain one Nigeria. Anybody who wants to leave Nigeria should carry the part of the land and take it to the Atlantic, not within the Nigerian territory. It is very clear the level of integration. There are many Hausas here. There are many Yoruba and Igbos in the north. So we should not allow politics to becloud our sense of unity and sovereignty. Anybody that says that he wants to leave Nigeria is a dreamer because we had bitter experience during the civil war. So it is not something that we will joke with." And now, before we go on a very short break, I'm going to introduce my analyst, who is Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche is a political, national and social affairs commentator, and of course he'll be responding to some questions I'll be posed at him. Do stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back, and I have right here via the telephone Barrister Eze Eluche, who already told you is a legal practitioner, a political and national affairs commentator. Barrister Eze, good evening and thank you for joining us on the World News at 6.
Thank you for your invite and hello to your viewers.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Very well, very well.
Thank you so much. So let me start off with the planned protest that's to take place. The first batch is to start off on the 29th of July. The second one is for the 5th of August. Now, Nigerians were able to unearth President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's tweets in 2012 and in 2013 concerning the whole fuel subsidy removal that former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan wanted to at the time, when he talked about the fact that the subsidy removal was not being beneficial to the vulnerable Nigerians or Nigerians as a whole, but rather to the very elite of the elite. Now, the reason why this tweet came up is because there are agitations, or rather the political elite within the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are on edge concerning the planned protest. The supposed protest is said to be politicized. Some are saying it's a tribalistic move. In fact, they're already tagging the planned protest that is a protest being organized by an ethnic group. So the question now on ground is, What exactly is a problem with a protest? Is there anything wrong whatsoever if anyone is not comfortable with the policy implementation of the administration currently in play, that they decide to go on a protest? What is the government afraid of? And why is it that anytime a protest is being called for, there is the immediate formation of the Nigerian security forces to ensure that that does not take place?
Well, thank you very much. You cannot beat a child and tell it not to cry. Nigerians have been pushed to the wall. They have been pauperized. The value of the naira has dwindled. And the people are finding it difficult to make ends meet. So it is natural at this stage for people to protest, to demonstrate against bad governance. And it is protected. It's a right protected in the Constitution. They are free to assemble and display an events against the government, so long as it is not violent and they keep within the law. So the protest, the rant that the government against this protest is most unfortunate, particularly as you have mentioned that Mr. Bola Tinubu and several of his colleagues in government now were at the helm of affairs, were at the pivot. They were the ones instrumental funding and sponsoring the various protests against previous government, particularly the government of Mr. Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes.
Over the hike in fuel price. Now, whatsoever protest was held in 2011 against Jonathan, the issues have tripled or quadrupled at this instance. Then the price of fuel was about less than 100 naira.
Yeah.
Now it is close to 1,000 naira. The price of living, the cost of living has skyrocketed, and Nigerians are unable to make ends meet. So what moral justification does anybody in this Tinubu regime have to question the rights of Nigerians to protest? This same Mr. Tinubu, Bola Tinubu, had said a revolution was justified in the face of bad governance. So people are free, and it's legitimate for them to protest. The idea of the government trying to describe the protest as ethnic or partisan is simply being childish and pedestrian. The harsh economy, the inability to make ends meet cuts across all ethnic groups. There is no special market for Muslims, different market for Christians or parents. There is no different market where Fulanis or Ijos or Shekis or Igbos or Yorubas can go and buy. We are all in this mess together in Nigeria.
Barrister Efe, the North Central All Progressives Congress are issuing a warning against the planned protest. They say that the planned protest is purportedly aimed against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They are saying that the aim is deliberately to destabilize his administration barely 1 year it's taken off. They're going ahead to ask a lot of APC supporters and a lot of Nigerians not to endeavor in going on that particular protest. They say that there are elements, all right, who are trying to ensure that the administration of the president is balkanized. They are saying this is a political attempt and a tribalistic attempt by some nefarious individuals to truncate whatever policy implementation to the betterment of Nigerians that this administration has in hand. Do you think that that is the right call at this time, rather than addressing whatever it is that is what is making Nigerians angry as to what this administration is not doing right?
The core question is the life of those in the northeast or northwest or north central any better since the past 1 year? Are they not feeling the pain of insecurity? Are they not feeling the pains of inability to buy food stuff? Are they not feeling all the pains? So the fact is, the people of the region, this APC caucus pretends to represent, will tell them to shut up, and they have to sit up, because the fact is everybody is feeling this pain. And Nigerians know that there's nothing ethnic or religious about the problem. The problem cuts across all tribes and religions. The markets we go to is irrespective of tribe or creed. So Nigerians should have overcome this efforts or this resolve by government to balkanize us or to divide us according to ethnic or tribal or religious ground. Nigerians are feeling the pain, and like I said earlier, it is a constitutionally guaranteed right to protest and to demonstrate. And Nigerians, if they are committed to demonstrating, they will go ahead and demonstrate, and nobody under the Constitution can prevent that. even the police or the military.
Okay.
They are warned that they are not there to serve any regime. The military and the police have sworn to uphold the Nigerian constitution and not to follow any regime. So the fact is, if the constitution protects demonstrators, protects people who are protesting, no sane military or police official who understands that we are practicing a constitutional democracy will stand up to shoot at the protesters. Rather, the issue is to ensure that the protests abide by the rule of law and they are not violent. That is the way forward.
Barrister, let's look at former military chief of staff, or former army chief rather, that is Buratai. Buratai is saying that anyone agitating to secede from Nigeria, that is to leave Nigeria, any group or tribe that has been agitating, right, to actually emasculate themselves from this country should be taken off. According to him, this is what he says. He says, you know that Nigeria is one. Unless you remove those people who are agitating and drift them to the Atlantic Ocean, we will remain one Nigeria. Anybody who wants to leave Nigeria should carry the part of the land and take it to the Atlantic, but not within the Nigerian territory. It is very clear the level of integration. So what he's saying is that every tribe has been properly integrated into every region, saying that any group or tribe that they should leave this country is impossible, that if they want to do that, it's not going to be within this Nigerian territory. They should take their land and wherever to the Atlantic Ocean. What's your take on what Buratai said? And who do you think he's referring to?
Now, Mr. Buratai, under any sane crime or under normal circumstances, should be in jail by now. This was a man who, when he was army staff, undertaking a trip to Zaire, he and his entourage shot and killed over 500 Shia demonstrators because he wanted to pass through a roadblock rather than make a hit one. This was a man who, as chief of staff, was busy building and buying mansions in Dubai. This was a man who, after his service as chief of staff, he had to be given an appointment as ambassador in Benin Republic to have given the cloak of immunity, because ambassadors are immune from trial. This is a man who has the temerity, the audacity to talk to Nigerians in a very rude manner. Mr. Buratai should shut up, because under normal circumstances he should be in jail for the various crimes he committed. Now, whosoever tribe he's talking to, he lacks the authority to talk to Nigerians, because there is freedom of the right to self-determination is guaranteed under the Constitution and under the international law. So he has no right whatsoever to talk to Nigerians in a rude manner. If any part of Nigeria decides, by whether it's a referendum or whatever, to secede or to continue to stay in Nigeria, Mr. Buratai or his cohorts, who have drained and milked this country, have no locus to talk about it. Mr. Buratai, under his watch, billions of naira that were meant for military equipment were swindled and exposing our soldiers to be almost useless when they are fighting the Boko Haram. He has the temerity to talk because Nigeria has not decided to punish erring officials. So that is my comment on Mr. Buratai. His case is for that day, but for now, he should just keep quiet and watch how things progress in this country. He has the right to threaten anybody.
Barrister Eze, Richard, let me ask you, is there anywhere in the Constitution that it is allowed for you to secede? Because from what I have read, from the concept, former president, that is the first president of Nigeria, Nnamdi Azikiwe, was one who actually, especially when the North wanted to secede, they said they wanted to be their own nation. Nnamdi Azikiwe mooted that thought and said he grew up in the North and that he would not advise that any tribe or whatsoever should cut themselves out. So he was the originator of saying that any form of secession from this country is treason. Is there anywhere in the Constitution that is allowed, based on what Buratai is responding to?
Well, the issue is, you see, when Nigerians decide to demand their rights or to move against illegitimate governance, this kind of discussions get trumped up from nowhere. Who is talking of secession from Nigeria? Who is talking of leaving Nigeria for now? The issue is we are faced with bad governance. We are faced with the maladministration. Then characters like Buratai to be aggressive, to shift the issues. I'm not talking of secession. Nobody is going anywhere in this country. We are all in this country together. We are talking about good governance. So the issue of, but let me make it very clear.
Okay.
The issue of self-determination
All right.
is inherent in every human being.
Okay.
That is why even after over 700 years of the British Empire still holding, people like those in Scotland can still decide whether they want to remain in Britain or not. That's why those in Catalonia can decide whether they want to be part of Spain or not. So the issue of self-determination is inherent, is enshrined in international law, and nobody, no constitution can even wipe it out. But for goodness sake, that is not the issue now. No Nigerian wants to succeed now. The issue is that we want to have good governance. And the Bola Tinubu regime should address those issues of good governance, of poverty, of pauperization. The distraction by Buratai and his cohorts to talk of secession, we're not going anywhere. We are in this mess together. And we have to solve it together.
Barrister Eze, he also reiterated that anybody who has a plan to leave is a dreamer. He's saying that it will never happen. Regardless of whatever call, it will never happen. But if you look at the spate of insecurity, the hunger in the land, the marginalization, the emasculation, don't you think that these are the issues that makes for such calls to be paramount, especially if you hear a lot of Nigerians speaking on how difficult things are? People are committing suicide. The living condition of Nigerians is nothing to write home about. And in as much as this administration is aware of it, what they've done is to see how they can slash food prices. The government has said in the next 180 days that we will see a slash in food prices. Is that enough to curtail the expression for self, or will I say self-referendum, or for any agitation whatsoever currently ongoing?
The agitations emanate from bad governance, from hardship. But the issue is that which we must all have hold paramount.
Okay.
Whether you decide to separate or not separate, the same characters who are the helm of affairs may likely be at the helm of affairs in any way you separate.
Okay.
So Nigerians need to address that fundamental problem of governance, so that even when under any circumstance, you will be sure that you have people who have the welfare and well-being of the people at the helm of affairs. So for now, for today, the issue is Nigeria, not any separation or whatever. And then we must be in this country and we must frontally, I repeat, address the issue of maladministration, of poverty elevation, and of bad governance. And for goodness sake, let us not be detracted by comments from elements like Buratai. One of those, like I keep on saying, is one of those characters who milk this polity. He has milked the Nigerian contraption, and he now wants to raise divisive tendencies to separate Nigerians. No, we're not going to be separated. No, we are all together in this, and Nigerians from all walks of life, it must be reiterated, have a right to protest against bad governance. Let us take a cue from what happened in Kenya. Kenya is also multi-ethnic. Kenya is also multi-religious. But when they want to attack bad governance, everybody comes together and attack the rascals in government. That is what we will do in Nigeria to right wrongs. Otherwise, these guys are ready to overrun us.
All right, Barrister, let's look at Bello Bodejo, the head of the Miyetti Katauhaure, who was recently cleared of terrorism-related charges. He has claimed that the Fulanis are part of Nigeria and shouldn't be denied coming into the country. This was an expression he made via an exclusive interview with the Sun newspaper. Bodejo addressed the impression that Fulanis are in other neighboring communities like Mali, Cameroon, Chad, Futa, Jalon, Senegal, and of course they're different in other different locations in Nigeria. That he's making Nigerians understand that Fulanis who are carrying weapons shouldn't be allowed access to Nigeria's border. But those who are not carrying weapons should be allowed to come in because they're not termed as criminals. That's basically what he said. What's your take on that? What
the man is trying to tell us is that Nigeria is not a country. That Nigeria is a contraption. Nigeria is a no man's land. Nigeria is a useless piece of territory.
He's trying to say that Nigerians should stop blaming Fulanis for what is going on in the north. He's emphasizing that the Fulanis need to be protected and they also have rights in this country. He noted that because of the insecurity in the northern states, the Fulani people migrate to other neighboring communities. And if anything happens there, they always tell me that they are Fulanis. They should be protected. He's calling for the protection of the Fulanis.
What we should be calling as Nigerians is the protection of all Nigerians. And no doubt, there are some Fulanis who are Nigerians. When I say who are Nigerians, whose parents are Nigerians, who qualified for Nigerian citizenship. But it's the height of rascality, the height of being unpatriotic to tell us that any Fulani anywhere in the world, even those in Mali, those in Niger, that they are qualified to enter Nigeria and be Nigerians. That is absolute arrant nonsense. And the Fulanis who are Nigerians are most welcome, and nobody's going to pursue them, and nobody's going to drive them away. But foreigners who are Fulanis cannot have automatic access to Nigeria. Just like, this issue of nationalities across borders. In the United States, for instance, there are Mexicans who, because of the close proximity to the U.S. border, their tribes or regions share proximity and they overlap U.S. border. But you must be a U.S. citizen to have automatic access to the U.S. You must be a German citizen to have automatic access to Germany. You cannot tell us that because any Fulani anywhere in the world is free to come to Nigeria. That is a nonsense that Nigerians must not accept. A Fulani who is by birth Nigerian or from Mali cannot be allowed to come into Nigeria under any guise. If such is the issue, that is why Nigerians will say there must be a demarcation, there must be a limit. That is why some Nigerians are saying we cannot stay in a country where we don't know who are part of Nigeria. We must be sure of Nigerians. It is never every Fulani from anywhere in the world that is welcome in Nigeria. That is a notion that these guys must be told is not attainable or sustainable. Only Fulanis who are Nigerians are welcome. Those who are not Nigerians should stay in their own country and not come in and disturb Nigerians. That is the reality.
Let's look at the amalgamation treaty. Some people claim that Nigeria's 1914 amalgamation expired after 100 years. So here it is. There has been, like I said earlier, based on our conversation earlier, right? Tony Nnadi, who is a lawyer and Secretary General of the Movement for New Nigeria, has insisted in 2014 that from 2014, Nigeria no longer exists because the lifespan of the amalgamation treaty has elapsed, and that the ethnic nationalities were free to declare autonomy for themselves. Again, this is why this debate is on the table. So what's your state? I really need you to properly educate us on this.
Well, the fact is that in over 100 years, if the country had merged and formed a nation, then you cannot now rely on a document that was over 100 years old and say the country must divide. That is the reality. Second reality is also that when you even look at the amalgamation document of 1914, who and who signed it? So if the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria did not sign it, they are in reality not even bound by that amalgamation document. So, but the reality is that we have a fact on ground. The fact on ground is that in 1960, a federation was created, and then we have to make do with it and look at realities. So what is the reality on ground now? The reality on ground is that there is a country called Nigeria, which is comprised of various ethnic nationalities, and those ethnic nationalities have a right to decide whether they want to continue to be in Nigeria or not to continue to be in Nigeria. And that is what the education has always been for. That there will be a conference where Nigerians will decide on what Nigeria should be.
But there was a conference. Have you forgotten the confab? There was a conference on that. Have you forgotten the confab where late Dora Akili was part of?
Yes, the outcome was never implemented. What I'm trying to say is that we must have a forum, a renegotiation of Nigeria, so that we understand who is a Nigerian, for instance. If some people can say any Fulani from anywhere in the world is a Nigerian, then I don't want to be part of that Nigeria. But if they say the Fulanis in the states in Nigerian northern region are Nigerians, yes, we agree. So we must meet to decide on the basics, on the foundations of what Nigeria is. And until we have that kind of forum, we unfortunately have a contraption, not a country, not a federation.
Will you call that particular treaty an agreement? Will you call that amalgamation a treaty or an agreement? Who agreed to what?
Well, whatever it is, in law, that's what you call the de jure and the de facto. That is what is the reality and what is the law. In this instance, now that agreement of 1914 has somehow fused these territory peoples into a country called Nigeria, and that is the reality. So when you keep on being theoretical or academic in saying who and who signed it, then you may lose track. So the reality is that there is a country called Nigeria. Now the issue is, how do we make it work? Do we want to make it work? And if the answer to this question is yes, then we should all be altruistic and forward-thinking about how to make it work. And not to think that
Okay.
Yes.
Barrister, the reason why I'm asking these questions is that if you have been on X lately, the conversation has been all tribalistic. Certain groups say they want to secede, they want to leave, Nigeria no longer favors them, the country. So that is the reason why these questions are asked. A couple of people feel that these sentiments on social media are being sponsored by this current administration. The weapon to weaken whatever it is to bring people together is by politicizing or bringing tribe into it. In fact, according to David Hundeyi, he alleged that this administration is paying people heavily on social media to cause tribal and political sentiments, whereby people cannot collectively come together and discuss a way forward without some persons infusing tribe. Again, this particular planned protest that is to take place from August is already being tagged Igbo protest, and a couple of tribes are saying, oh, Igbos do not be part of it. Oh, it's a Yoruba. So this is a conversation, and we need to clear it out and not promote such. What's your take on that, sir, before we leave?
That is what I said from the onset. The issue is there is no different markets. We are all in this mess together. Whether you are Igbo, you are Isoko, Urobo, Ijoy, Sik, Jukun, everybody is in this mess together. So the government will always try to do divide and rule, to create schisms amongst peoples who are having the same issues. So it's for Nigerians to overcome these nuances and divides of those in authority and decide that, yes, this is our country. Let us take back Nigeria. And this request should be irrespective of religion or tribe. I don't think, the average Nigerian on the street does not have any problem with his neighbor of whatever tribe or religion. But it is those in government who are milking us that keep on waging this divide, and we must learn to overcome it. We should overcome it and realize that we need to overcome it for us to move forward. We can't allow these guys to keep on using the platform of ethnicity and religion to continue to divide Nigeria. Nigeria is one, and we can remain a strong and indivisible nation. But it must be based on truth, justice, and equity.
All right.
Truth, justice, and equity.
Barrister Eze, I sincerely do appreciate you giving us your insight to the questions posed at you. I do apologize if it seemed like I grilled you, but all of this conversation stems from the reality of the kind of conversation on ground, and we need to clarify all of this. The essence of the agitation, the purpose for it. Thank you so much for giving us your own intellectual insight to these questions. We sincerely do appreciate.
Thank you for the invite and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. All right, to wrap up the world news at 6 here again are the top stories. SDPs Ado calls out President Tinubu over policy failure. APC warns Nigerians against planned protest. Nigerians unearth President Tinubu's tweets on protest. Information Minister discloses UAE's lift on visa ban. And federal government donates 20 trucks of rice to states, including the FCT. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.